Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Understanding the heavenly adventure, I create the Overlord color cultivation method. Ai Xiu crossed the world of pirates and became twins with Ai Xiu, gaining supernatural insight. He even created a genetic cultivation method while still in his mother's womb, breaking the shackles of his body. Devil Fruit has an incredible ability. Is racial talent super abnormal? Ai Xiu breaks through limitations with his supernatural intelligence and creates an infinitely upgraded supernatural ability. You are working hard to obtain external information, and you have comprehended and created the perception divine power seeing, hearing, color, and dominance cultivation method. You have been observing Kapu's cultivation process for a long time and experiencing the power generation process of armed color dominance firsthand. You have comprehended and created the physical skill. Armed color dominance cultivation method. You have witnessed the birth of the Sea King class and felt the pressure of the Sea King class. You have comprehended and created the divine consciousness and divine power. Overlord color and dominance cultivation method. Your cells have broken down the energy fruit and absorbed its ability. You have comprehended and created the elemental magic of energy control. You delve deep into practicing and researching body techniques. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Adversarial Understanding. Bloodline Divine Skill. Gene Repair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Where am I? Xiu's consciousness awakened from his confusion. I tried hard to open my eyes, but found that I couldn't do it at all. Xiu can feel that his body is in a warm water. A strange sense of peace surged into Xiu's heart. But the darkness before him made Xiu feel a bit uneasy, and he instinctively moved his body. Ah! The baby is kicking the mother again. A faint and gentle voice came. But Xiu couldn't listen attentively. You were reborn, and when you left the world gave you a gift, and you gained the ability to defy heaven. A voice rang out in Xiu's mind. Shocked. Am I reborn? So I'm already dead. The gift of the world. Was it given to me by the previous world when I died? Was it an incredible understanding? Xiu's heart trembled wildly. Thoughts raced through my mind. He is completely awake. So now I am an unborn fetus. Xiu understood his own situation. So that voice just now, is it my mother in this lifetime? Xiu thought to himself. I just don't know what this world looks like. It's really exciting. I am truly lucky to be able to live a new life, and besides, there is also a gift from the world. Even without mentioning systematic gifts. Just the knowledge from the previous life is already an enviable wealth. Xiu thought and instinctively wanted to sense the situation outside. The next moment, a clear picture appeared in Xiu's mind. Before Xiu could even react on what was going on, he felt his mind dizzy and fell asleep. In an inconspicuous room on the island of Adversarial. Portkas D. Luzhou sat on a chair with a backrest, gently caressing her lower abdomen with her freckled face emitting a maternal radiance. There's a mischievous little baby in my belly. I don't know how long it took for Xiu's consciousness to recover. My brain is still tingling. Xiuxin probably knows what caused it. His body does not support him to use the previous ability. It's really amazing. What kind of ability is that? Is this a world with superpowers? Xiu Xian guessed. However, he dare not attempt to perceive the external situation as he did before. But it narrows down the perception range. Then Xiu was stunned. There is actually a fetus by his side. Twins. Xiu was a bit curious, and the fact that he could sense his brother in his mother's womb made Xiu feel a bit magical. Subconsciously, he moved and reached out to poke the brother next to him. As a result, the other party seemed to be stimulated and suddenly moved. A cry of surprise was heard again by Xiu. Xiu's heart moved and he dared not act recklessly anymore. Be honest. Xiu thought to himself, thinking of his previous ability to sense the external situation. This world may not be ordinary, but the gifts from the previous world were my trump card. Xiu thought to himself. Since this world may have some strange abilities that were not present in previous lives, he also possesses the supernatural insight bestowed upon him by the world. So can we create an ability that a mother can cultivate? Not to mention anything else, even effective utilization of nutrients is enough to make his foundation excellent. Xiu felt that this was also a first-hand preparation for him to adapt to this world. However, Xiu overestimated his energy as a fetus. Even with the amazing technique of supernatural intelligence. But you need to constantly sense your body and not dare to do too much. Otherwise, if you persist in begging, you will suffer a great loss. Just like this, Xiu became conscious intermittently, and I don't know how long it took. Anyway, he and the brother around him have already developed well. Xiucai can be considered as having the final result. You have deeply experienced the growth and development of the fetus, become more familiar with your own body, and comprehend the creation of the bloodline divine power and gene cultivation method. Hard work pays off to those who have a heart. Finally, there is a result. However, Xiu also feels a bit regretful. After all, it's too late. If he could stay in his mother's womb for a while longer, his foundation would probably be better. Perhaps it can be compared to mythological creatures in legends. Bloodline skill gene cultivation method. Based on the growth and development of the fetus, one can have a better understanding of their own body, achieve perfect absorption of nutrients and energy, and break the shackles of their own body, allowing them to exceed their original limits. We can't delay anymore. We should take advantage of this time and do our best to improve our foundation. Xiu thought to himself. Now that my body has developed and my energy is better than before. With this, no matter what the world may be like, there is finally a perfect beginning. Xiu felt that it could also be considered as his own capital for settling down in this world. The nutrients transmitted from the mother are perfectly absorbed by the body. Xiu slowly immersed himself in this feeling. Not knowing how long, a sound came from Xiu's ear. This is my mother's voice. Who was the voice of another man at that time? Is it the father of this body? P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yanzu. Chapter 2. Lu Jiu's Resoluteness. Congenital sight, hearing, color, and domineering aura. You are listening at novel full.audio. The voice was faint and indistinct. Xiu carefully controls his ability to perceive external situations. Although the fetus's body has already developed. But Xiu dare not be reckless. He doesn't want the same situation as last time to happen again. And this ability is not difficult to control. After understanding the application and control of this ability, Xiu even thought of ways to enhance it. As Xiu exerted his abilities, external voices entered Xiu's mind. Batarira Island. In an ordinary cabin, Capp looked at the pink-haired woman in a loose dress before him and sighed. The world government has realized that Roger may have children, and they will never let Roger's children go. When he said this, Capp's brow furrowed tightly. Her graying hair was trembling, clearly very annoyed by the actions of the world government. Lu Jiu sat in a rocking chair, calmly listening to Capp's words with a calm expression in her eyes. I know, thanks to your care during this time. Lu Jiu said with a grateful smile on her face. Upon hearing this, Capp grinned and raised his hand to scratch the back of his head, emitting a burst of laughter. Ha ha ha. There's really no way, Roger. Please, man, just do what you say. Looking at Capp laughing, Lu Jiu's expression remained empty. Seemingly feeling a bit awkward, Capp put away his laughter and then looked at Lu Jiu with a serious expression. The world government is investigating the children who spoke out on Battleira Island during this period. If Roger's children spoke out in this world, it wouldn't be good. Capp could think of the means of the world government and would rather kill by mistake than let go of Roger's bloodline. After all, Roger, who is considered the greatest threat by world governments. Roger, who pioneered the Great Voyage. His son, in the eyes of the world government, is the most evil bloodline in this world. Moreover, there is also the D clan. So Capp can think of what the world government will do excessively next. Don't worry, the child won't be born at this time. Lu Jiao gently caressed her lower abdomen with her right hand, her expression calm. Kapu looked at Lu Jiao's expression with a hint of shock. But Roger's child should also be born now. They won't come to this world at this time. Lu Jiao's voice remains gentle and peaceful. But the resolute tone in his tone made Capp unsure how to face it. This is a mother who wants to protect her child. Her determination should not be questioned. You don't have to worry, I will do all of this well. Seeing Kapu's expression, Lu Jiao thought of the Navy's care for her during this period, and a grateful smile appeared on Lu Jiao's face. Capp nodded silently, turned around and walked to the door, then spoke up. I won't come over again during this period. If I'm caught, your identity may also be exposed. Well, I understand. Lu Jiao replied with a smile. Kapu opened the door and walked out. After walking out, I let out a long sigh. A child should be born, but not allowed to be born. This is a great burden for mothers who are pregnant with children. And this time, I don't know how long it will take to be safe. Roger's wife maybe Kapu sighed and left directly. In the room, Lu Jiao rubbed her lower abdomen, her gentle gaze filled with determination. At this moment, Xiu could hear the sound outside clearly and finally understood the situation. It's actually the world of the Pirate King. Roger's child. I actually became the child of the Pirate King. Xiu sensed his twin brother next to him. So, this guy is Ace. I can't believe I became twin brothers with Ace. Xiu now feels very peculiar. The world of the Pirate King. Before Xiu could get excited, he suddenly thought of an extremely serious problem. That is his mother. Portkas de Lu Jiao. In order to prevent the child from being discovered, she was supposed to conceive in October, but she forcefully became pregnant with Ace for 20 months. Also died due to physical exhaustion. Now with him, the burden on this mother will be even heavier. Thinking of this, Xiu couldn't help feeling a bit anxious. Lu Jiao is the mother of Ace and also his mother. He will never let Lu Jiao die like this. Sensing the incredibly quiet Ace around him, Xiu sighed. You can't rely on this guy. It seems that everything depends on oneself. Fortunately, he doesn't lack the means to do this now. Xiu thought to himself. Since Lu Jiao died due to physical exhaustion, then let her not overdraw her body. This, Xiu has already had an idea in his heart. And that ability to perceive the outside world can assist in this matter. Speaking of which, this should be seen and heard as domineering, right? Am I born to see and hear? You are a bit curious about your perception ability. After a brief study, with an incredible understanding, you have come to understand the perception God technique. Seeing, hearing, color, and dominance cultivation method, you have awakened your innate aura of seeing, hearing, and being domineering PS. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 3. Energy Feedback. Lu Jiao's Speculation. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Indeed, he was born with a domineering aura. With the assistance of this innate aura and dominance, I am more confident about what I need to do next after the repair. After giving birth to Ace, Lu Jiao died due to physical exhaustion. So as long as Lu Jiu's body is not overdrawn, isn't that enough? This is the method of cultivation. Xiu can use the aura of seeing, hearing, and color to clearly feel the continuous transmission of nutrients. The genetic cultivation method can allow cultivators to perfectly absorb the nutrients transmitted from Lu Jiu. And he can use genetic cultivation to convert these nutrients into energy, and then feed them back to Lu Jiu. For Xiu, this is a burden. But Xiu still decided to do so. He doesn't want Lu Jiu to really die. After Kapu left last time, there were indeed a large number of strangers on Adversarial Island. And Lu Jiu is very vigilant about this. But life is as usual. No abnormalities are visible. And those strangers who suddenly appeared did not notice Lu Jiu's situation. This made Lu Jiu breathe a sigh of relief. But Lu Jiu also realized that she was getting hungry faster and faster. The appetite is also increasing. At first, Lu Jiu was still a bit worried. I don't know what this situation really is. Lu Jiu can clearly feel that there are two small lives in her belly. A very mischievous person who often kicks her. The other one is very quiet. Perhaps the child is going to grow up. Lu Jiu guessed in her heart. I didn't suppress my appetite. I was originally worried about eating too much, and the child's development was too fast to cover up their body shape. But Lu Jiu sensed the child's needs and naturally had to satisfy them. Fortunately, her body shape has not changed, so there is no need to worry about exposure. She can also feel that her child is very healthy. The original worries were also let go. Xiu in Lu Jiu's stomach sensed Lu Jiu's actions and breathed a sigh of relief. He also intercepted a lot of nutrients from Ace's side. The current practice of fully utilizing genetic cultivation techniques converts all absorbed nutrients into energy. And fed back these energies to Lu Jiu. In front of the cabin door. Lu Jiu, dressed in a dress, sat on the rocking chair in front of the door, squinting her eyes slightly as if resting. Far away. Two tall men stared at Lu Jiu. After a long time, the two turned around and left. It's not her, continue investigating others. Roger has children left in this world, it's a guess. Originally, according to the idea of the world government, the entire island was completely destroyed. But this time, the warring states, Kapu, and Crane from the Navy joined forces to stop it. The world government can only investigate slowly. However, no suspected children were found to have been born on this island. However, the world government has not relaxed and is still investigating secretly. Lu Jiu sensed the disappearance of her gaze, and breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. This is already the 5th time in this period. Lu Jiu didn't get up and still closed her eyes slightly. She knew that her battle had not yet been accepted. However, Lu Jiu was somewhat curious that she had decided to let her child stay safe in her body before being born. She also understands that this is definitely a huge burden. Her body may not be able to persist. But now, she can feel that her body is not only not weakened. On the contrary, his complexion is getting better and better. This puzzled Lu Jiu a bit. Gently place your right hand on your lower abdomen. Is it my baby helping me? Lu Jiu didn't say anything, and there was a vague guess in her heart. It seems that your complexion is decent. A voice sounded, and Lu Jiu's expression moved, revealing a hint of vigilance. Lu Jiu, who opened her eyes, saw Kapu wearing casual clothes not far in front of her. And Capp looked at Lu Jiu with immense emotion in his heart. How much perseverance is this? Capp has great admiration for Lu Jiu. You can come, it seems that this crisis is about to pass. Lu Jiu saw Kapu appear and spoke softly. It will take some more time, the world governments have relaxed now, but I'm worried they will turn around again. Capp spoke up. Lu Jiu nodded. I'll have to work hard for you for a while. Capp spoke up. It's not hard, this is what a mother should do, and my child is also helping me. Lu Jiu touched her lower abdomen, her face shining with maternal radiance. Capp didn't understand, but he didn't ask much. I will notify you again once it is completely safe. Facing Lu Jiu, Kapu is rare and very serious. Thank you very much. Lu Jiu nodded slightly, her eyes filled with gratitude to Kapu. Xiu sensed the conversation between Lu Jiu and Kapu outside through his observations, and his heart also relaxed a bit. To protect Lu Jiu's body this time is still a heavy burden for an unborn fetus. He doesn't know how long he can hold on. Sensing the honest ace beside him, Shoduan was speechless. After being born, my brother will deal with you, kid. During this period of backfeeding, his body has become thin and weak. On the side, Ace is chubby. After all, he can sense his own physical condition, and all he needs is enough nutrition to survive. Ace dare not intercept too much. The world government did not notice anything and eventually retreated. And Xiu, it's time to be born. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yanzu. Chapter 4. Thin and Weak Ai Xiu. In the future, I will be the sea. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. With the sound of a baby crying. Outside the door, Capp showed a pleased smile. He also finds it tricky. The child of Pirate King Roger. If it is discovered by the world government, it will definitely not be missed. But he and Roger have been fighting and chasing each other for years, and each has some empathy for each other. Roger is not the most heinous pirate. Although the opening of the Age of Discovery in the end made Capp somewhat unhappy. But since it has been entrusted, then we must do it. This is a promise from a man. In the room. Sweat soaked in her clothes, Lu Jiu looked at the two children lying beside her, her face slowly filled with happiness. The two children look very similar, just one chubby body. The other one is somewhat thin and weak. It is very obvious when placed together. The thin and weak are the ones that need to be repaired. At this moment, Lu Jiu looked at Xiu, who was thin and weak, with a look of love in her eyes. Lu Jiu reached out and picked up Xiu, gently opening her mouth. Did you help Mom? Lu Jiu actually had a guess in her heart. After all, Lu Jiu knew the changes in her body during this period most clearly through her personal experience. Her body is even better than before she was pregnant. The maid beside her looked at Lu Jiu and Xiu in Lu Jiu's arms, still puzzled. However, she was also clever enough not to ask much, but instead to ask for the child's name. Miss, has your child given a name yet? Lu Jiu tenderly caressed Xiu's small face. After hearing the inquiry, he looked up at the maid beside him and smiled. According to their father's wishes, but his father never expected that he would have two sons, one named Ace. Lu Jiu said as her gaze fell on Huai Lixiu. Let's call him Ai Xiu. Lu Jiu has already made a decision. At this moment, Ace closed her eyes, her two little hands tightly clenched, and she was soundly asleep. It was Ai Xiu in Lu Jiu's arms, although thin and weak, his mental state looked good. With clear black and white eyes, he looked at Lu Jiu. Finally, the hard work was not in vain. Ai Xiu looked at Lu Jiu's expression and felt relieved in his heart. It seems that with his help this time, the mother's body did not overdraw too much. Since he decided to save his mother, he hasn't rested much. Except for being too tired and resting, the rest of the time is spent converting energy and providing feedback. His own body has not been preserved except for necessary nutrients. That's why it leads to physical weakness. But for Ai Xiu, all of this is worth it. Lu Jiu did not die. Ai Xiu fell asleep, feeling relaxed in his heart. I don't know how long I slept, but Ai Xiu woke up and opened his eyes. Then he saw a square face appear in front of him. Above his big face was a circle of black whiskers, and his short gray-white hair was as hard as a thorn. At this moment, the owner with a big face stared at him without blinking. However, Ai Xiu has already guessed the identity of this person. Capp. A pair of iron fists almost swept across the entire sea, making it difficult to meet an opponent. Naval hero. Major general in this department. Refused to be promoted to general multiple times. A unique and independent person in the Navy. Capp stared at Ai Xiu in front of him and sighed. Too thin. It seems that this time is indeed a burden for you, even affecting the children. Kapu's words stunned Lu Jiu, gave him a glance, and then held him in her arms. Maybe it's like this. Or maybe this child helped me. Lu Jiu did not explicitly state her previous speculation. Because this is unbelievable. Capp didn't think much and his gaze fell on Ace. Ha, this little guy is still good. He's white and chubby, and his bones are very strong at first glance. He can definitely become a strong person on the sea in the future. Lu Jiu glanced at Ace and suddenly sighed. I actually hope they can be ordinary people and live this life peacefully. Ha, this is probably unlikely, after all, their father. After all, they may encounter danger in the future, and their own strength can help them overcome it. Lu Jiu naturally understood the meaning of Kapu. Now it is indeed hiding from the world government. But it is difficult to guarantee that the world government will not discover it afterwards. If discovered, then the identities of these two children may attract the full pursuit of the world government. Ha. Seeing the worried expression on Lu Jiu's face, Capp burst into laughter. You don't have to worry, I will teach them to be strong. Look at Ace, he can definitely become a powerhouse on the sea, after all, they still have Roger's bloodline in their bodies. Ai Xiu rolled his eyes when he heard Capp's words in Lu Jiu's arms. If it weren't for saving his mother Lu Jiu, he would have laid the foundation long ago. This Kapu old man's vision is not very good. In the future, Laozi will be the strongest on this vast sea. When the time comes, slap the old man in the face. Ai Xiu thought fiercely. I hope you can take Ai Xiu and Ace away. By my side, I don't have the ability to protect them. Kapu heard Lu Jiu's words and remained silent for a long time before finally nodding. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 5. Angry Kapu. Iron Fist of Love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Donghai Goya Kingdom Windmill Village. Wow, Grandpa, don't want it. A child's cry rang out in the forest. Then came the rough laughter of a man. Next are three sounds of falling into the water. Ha, you three should be careful, there are crocodiles in this water. Kapu, standing by the river, laughed wildly as he looked up to the sky. That mouth is so wide that people are worried that their chin will fall to the ground. In front of him, three small figures were splashing in the river water. At this moment, the river began to churn and a huge crocodile, 7 or 8 meters long, emerged from the water. Ace and Luffy were scared and their noses and tears rushed out, shouting and swimming towards the shore. As soon as he swam to the shore, he was kicked back into the water by Capp alone. Help, you're going to die, you're going to die. Luffy, who was kicked back by Capp, had just emerged from the water when he saw his big mouth full of sharp teeth approaching him. 2 eyeballs are almost popping out. Ace is not much better either. The two were so frightened that they splashed wildly in the river water. On the other side of the river, Ai Xiu looked at the faces of Ace and Luffy and shook his head in silence. Then he silently swam to the other side, climbed up a big tree by the river, and then lay down on the trunk. The genetic cultivation method in the body is in operation. The large amount of meat eaten before was quickly converted into energy and absorbed by the body. In recent years, after being brought back by Capp, Ai Xiu's thin and weak body has also become stronger. This is all thanks to his creation of the gene cultivation method. But every time this old man comes back from a mission, he has to mess with the three of them. Ai Xiu is really speechless. In recent years, he has not been negligent, but because he had to show off before, his health has been severely damaged. The time spent nurturing the body in the development of sight, smell, and color have not stopped. And now that he has seen and heard all the colors, he has taken full control. It is already possible to briefly foresee the future. Unfortunately, despite his ultimate ability to hear the voice of all things, Ai Xiu still had no clue. This seems to have nothing to do with comprehension. However, this is already sufficient for Ai Xiu. His current aura and aura are already at the top of this vast sea. It's just that his body is not strong enough to support him to use this ability for a long time. But Ai Xiu is not in a hurry. The genetic cultivation method is his biggest trump card. He is rapidly becoming stronger every moment. Ai Xiu has a great understanding of this world. Above the sea here, the fruit ability can increase the lower limit of strength. But the upper limit of strength ultimately lies in the body. Only with a solid foundation can one's strength not be a castle in the air. The kappa in front of us is the best example. Not eating fruits, relying solely on one's body and dominance, standing at the top of this sea. The genetic cultivation method is not difficult. For Ai Xiu, it has now become an instinct. As long as one eats a large amount of food, the genetic cultivation method can convert these things into nutrients that they can fully absorb. Fortunately, it's hard to say anything else now, but the food is definitely enough. Ai Xiu listened to the screams of Ace and Luffy in the river below, silently thinking in his heart. "Hey, where's Ai Xiu?" Capp's voice rang out below. Ace and Luffy, who were splashing and dodging crocodiles in the river, quickly looked around. Wow, Xiu was eaten by a crocodile. Luffy didn't see Ai Xiu and immediately guessed in his heart, then burst into tears. Ace also cried along. Capp's face turned black in an instant. He's here, how could that kid from Ai Xiu be eaten? Ai Xiu. The roar rang out, and Capp stood by the riverbank, staring at the position of the tree trunk where Ai Xiu lay. The flying birds in the entire forest were startled by this roar and flew up. The crocodile chasing Ace and Luffy in the river heard Capp's roar, and its neck shrank in fear, ready to dive into the water. But then it seemed like he was afraid of something, so he could only grit his teeth and continue to pursue Ace and Luffy. Ai Xiu, lying on the trunk with his eyes closed, dug out his ears. My ears were numb from the sound of Capp. Don't slack off. If you keep slacking off, your opponent won't be a crocodile, but an old man. Capp's roar left Ai Xiu speechless. Ai Xiu opened his eyes and sat up from the tree trunk. Watching the two silly kids frantically fleeing under the pursuit of crocodiles below, I felt very helpless. With his current strength, this crocodile can solve it with just one punch. What kind of cultivation is this? He doesn't have much idea of spending time with children. After Kapu roared, he saw Ai Xiu sit up from the tree trunk and thought he was ready to come down. As a result, I saw Ai Xiu sitting on the tree trunk, with his legs drooping, watching AC and Luffy frantically fleeing in the river. That's really good. It seems that Ai Xiu wants to taste Grandpa's beloved iron fist. Capp's fists met and he smiled. 2 rows of pristine white teeth were exposed, and a hint of malice flashed in his eyes. Then Capp jumped up and headed towards Ai Xiu on the tree trunk. The fist, as big as a clay pot, was raised high and smashed towards Ai Xiu sitting on the tree trunk. With a punch, Capp froze. Did it fail? P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 6. Stunned Capp. This is awakening and witnessing. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. My own punch actually fell through. Capp couldn't believe it was true. Although he is not serious, this should not be something a child can avoid. The two below are still shouting and crying uncontrollably. The kid in front of me actually avoided his attack. Kapu's eyes flickered with excitement as he looked at Xiu in front of him, as if he was looking at a rare treasure. He already had a guess in his mind. But I can't confirm yet. With this in mind, Capp decided to continue his probing. Kapu's attack just now came. Ai Xiu instinctively activated the aura of seeing and hearing, and directly avoided this punch. At this moment, I looked up and saw the malicious expression on Capp's face. A red light flashed in his pupils, and his head flashed sharply to the right. Capp's fist carried a strong wind as it passed by his ear. The wind carrying it stirred Ashley's hair. The black line at the end of Ai Xiu's head. This old man is going crazy. And as Ai Xiu had anticipated, Capp's eyes became even more excited. The fist swung again. This time the speed is faster than before. Ai Xiu dodged ahead of time again and drove away. Capp's smile grew stronger. Sure enough, this kid really woke up, it's amazing. Dominance is a powerful ability on the sea. In addition to the powerful and domineering aura of the king color, both the armed color and the seeing and hearing color can be obtained through cultivation. But Ai Xiu is still so young. Capp's heart was shaken. Although seeing and hearing colors do not have certain physical requirements like armed colors. But the difficulty to master is not low at all. I still looked around. Thinking back to when Xiu and Ace were just born, Capp looked at Xiu's frailty, and it was only then that Ace had the qualifications to become a strong person. Now, although Ace is also good, in Capp's eyes, he can be considered the most qualified group of people he has ever met. But now, surprisingly, Ai Xiu in front of Kapu is the real little monster. Capp thought, but his hand movements were not slow at all. Punch after punch. On top of this tree trunk, Capp's fists were still visible. But all of them were avoided by Ai Xiu. Although dodging was a bit awkward, it was indeed dodging. Good kid, you really wake up and see your aura. Capp stopped and smiled like a chrysanthemum on his face. Seeing Capp stop, Ai Xiu breathed a sigh of relief. Old man, your method is not suitable for me. You should focus on cleaning up Ace and Luffy. Ai Xiu spoke up. Upon hearing this, Capp smiled with a hint of malice on his face. Kid, you're very arrogant, aren't you? Kapu said, and a black iron look suddenly appeared on his fist. Seeing this scene, Ai Xiu's expression was already on the verge of jumping off the tree trunk. He saw it and couldn't avoid the punch. Bang! The excruciating pain emanating from his head made Xiu embrace his head with both hands, revealing a painful expression on his face. Look! Sure enough, I didn't avoid it. Seeing, hearing, and seeing will not deceive people. Ai Xiu looked at Capp with a displeased expression. This old man is actually serious. Kid, don't think you're just so proud when you wake up. There are countless strong men on the sea, you can't underestimate anyone. Capp withdrew his fist and looked at Xiu, who was holding his head in both hands, and began to teach. On this vast sea, as strong as I am, there are even 8,000 without 10,000. If you can't avoid my fist, then you can't avoid others' attacks. Seeing, hearing, and seeing colors are not omnipotent. Ai Xiu listened to the words of the old man Kapu, and a hint of helplessness flashed on his face. This old man's lies are so easy to come by. Is it possible for someone as strong as him to have 8,000 without 10,000? If that's really the case, then the world government would be fooling around. Just dissolve it quickly. Ai Xiu ignored Capp, who was running the train with his mouth full. Instead, I paid attention to the black iron color on Capp's fist just now. Armed colors are domineering. Ai Xiu naturally knows what kind of ability this is. However, armed and domineering colors have a burden on the body. Ai Xiu never went to practice before. Now, although I am young, I can try the genetic cultivation method and armed colors. Ai Xiu stared at Capp, who was teaching him a hard lesson, and his heart was already feeling the punch he had just made. You feel the armed aura on Kapu's fist, and after a brief moment of contemplation, you understand the cultivation method of armed aura. You have awakened the dominance of armed colors. Capp looked at Ai Xiu with lifeless eyes staring at him and nodded in satisfaction. I thought Ai Xiu had already remembered what he said. Little did he know that with the punch he had just made, Ai Xiu had already mastered the dominance of armed colors. Ai Xiu sensed the force in his body and was about to experiment when his face suddenly changed. Ai Xiu and Lu Fei ran away. Kapu was taken aback for a moment, then lowered his head and looked into the river below. Sure enough, there was only one crocodile floating on the water. Without a target, the crocodile completely turned into a salted fish. They went to the edge of the island. Upon seeing and hearing this, Ai Xiu immediately exerted his domineering aura, and in an instant, he noticed that Ai Xiu and Lu Fei had run away. These two kids just saw Capp jump up and swam straight to the shore to run. At this moment, Ai Xiu sensed a huge creature in the sea rapidly approaching AC and Luffy. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 7. Sea King attacks. Capp takes action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ai Xiu's aura was strong enough to clearly feel a massive object rushing towards Ai Xiu and Lu. It seems that we are launching an attack on them. At this time, Ace and Luffy knew nothing. Should these two guys be innocent or heartless? The crying father and mother who were chased by a big crocodile in the river just now. Now it's forgotten in the blink of an eye. These two guys are shouting and jumping towards the sea, looking very excited. Little did they know that a crisis was imminent. There's something in the sea. The targets are Luffy and Ace. Ai Xiu spoke to Capp. How could you, kid, perceive so far away? Is it so powerful when you wake up and hear the color? Kapu's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. He didn't even know that Ai Xiu's sight and hearing were brought out from her mother's womb. Ai Xiu is a bit anxious. See, big guy, maybe it's a sea king. Ai Xiu hit Capp's knee with a hammer. Capp dug his nose with his little thumb and glanced in the direction of Luffy and Ace. There was no worry on his face. However, seeing Ai Xiu like this, I am very satisfied. It seems that the relationship between the three little guys is very good. If we could all join the navy, we would become the three great generals. The three generals are all their own grandsons. Capp thought of this and burst out laughing. Ai Xiu looked at the old man in front of him, and he was speechless. Now a sea king is heading towards your grandson. You still have the heart to burst out laughing here. Seeing the expression on Ai Xiu's face, Capp picked him up and forcefully jumped out of the forest. As he watched himself getting higher and higher off the ground, Ai Xiu calmed down. Forgot. This old man is the top powerhouse above the sea. It's just a sea king, probably not given much attention at all. Capp stepped on the moonwalk and took a few breaths to reach Luffy and Ace's heads. At this moment, Ace and Luffy were excitedly staring at the sea. Luffy, when I grow up, I want to go out to sea and see the great roots. I'm going too. Upon hearing Ace speak, Luffy actually didn't quite understand. But Luffy still knows how to support it. Luffy raised his hands above his head and shouted excitedly. Upon hearing this, Ace looked up and burst into laughter. Luffy also looked up and laughed foolishly. Then these two guys saw Capp and Ash above their heads, and their faces suddenly changed. Thinking of Capp throwing them into the river just now and being chased by crocodiles, a look of fear appeared on his face. At this moment. Boom! The sea in front of them exploded directly. A large amount of seawater splashed out. Accompanied by this tremendous movement, a huge snake head emerged from the seawater. Just the breath from his nostrils blew Luffy and Ace away. The two of them tumbled on the ground, clinging tightly to the ground, in order to secure their blown bodies. Luffy and Ace stared at a monster not far away that was countless times larger than them. My eyeballs are almost popping out. This is too big, isn't it? Ace stuttered. The size of this snake is also too exaggerated. The crocodile that had been chasing them in the river before probably couldn't hold its teeth in front of this big snake. A lot of meat. Luffy's eyes were shining. In his heart, he was already thinking, how long will the meat of such a large snake be enough to eat for himself? Xiu was thrown directly by Capp to the side of Ace and Luffy, and then he took a few drops of air under his feet, and his figure had reached the edge of this huge sea king. The snake-shaped giant sea king with fierce eyes locked onto Kapu. At the next moment, more than 10 tentacles with countless suction cups emerged from the water and rolled towards Kapu. Ai Xiu was not worried about Capp, but turned his head to look at the two of them who had climbed up from the ground. You two disobedient younger brothers can really cause trouble wherever you go. You are the younger brother. Upon hearing Asher's words, his freckled face suddenly became somewhat unwilling. Immediately speak up to compete for my brother's position. However, Ai Xiu ignored him and turned his head to look at Capp. Although Kapu is old, his body is still very strong. But when compared to Neptunians, the difference in human body size is immense. The diameter of the rough hand that came from the light stroke is estimated to be almost 10 meters. Just relying on this body type, the power that this Sea King can unleash is terrifying enough. However, Capp didn't care at all, and Uebu lightly avoided the incoming tentacles under his feet. People have reached the edge of the Sea King class. Lifting his right fist, he struck the huge head of a Sea King-like giant snake with a straight punch. Boom! This punch looks light and ethereal, but its power is terrifying. The sound of explosion sounded, and a terrifying transparent blood hole appeared on the head of the Sea King. With a successful strike, Capp is preparing to return. But the Sea Kings suffered a heavy blow. Countless tentacles twisted and twitched. And the three of Ai Xiu are also within the attack range of this tentacle. Capp instantly sensed a tentacle rolling towards Xiu and the three of them. Originally, the three of them were close together. Now the figure has been caught up in the huge tentacles of the Sea King class. Kapu's face changed, and a black iron color appeared on his fist, punching towards the struggling Sea King. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 8. Two-color dominance. Kapu people are numb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fist bones. This time, Capp did not act casually again. One hit. The huge Sea Kings have been completely destroyed. The power of this blow even spread along the body of this giant Sea King. The wrists and feet of the Sea King class, which are wildly swinging, stop swinging in an instant. The next moment, flesh and blood will crumble. In Capp's perception of sight, smell, and color, there was not much change in the breath of the three of them. After the disintegrating wrists and feet fell, the figures of the three of Ai Xiu appeared in Capp's eyes. Capp's gaze froze. In his eyes, Xiu blocked Ace and Luffy behind him. Arms spread out, and the clothes were already somewhat torn. And on the exposed skin, the metallic luster of his expression flashed away. What is this? Armed and domineering. Capp's eyes widened wide. And at this moment, Ai Xiu also breathed a sigh of relief. Converge the dominance of the armed colors scattered throughout your body. In this urgent situation, display armed colors. It seems that my body can indeed try to cultivate armed colors. However, this sudden display of armed colors was indeed a great burden on his body. Although in recent years, relying on genetic cultivation methods has laid a strong foundation for Ai Xiu. But it still cannot be used for a long time. At this moment, Ace and Luffy were really scared out of their wits. The huge wrists and feet just wrapped around me. Countless suction cups protrude above the wrists and feet, as if they were countless sharp knives. Both of them thought of the scene after being cut by countless sharp knives. And Ai Xiu stood in front of them. At this point, the clothes are broken. They couldn't see Ash's face. But they don't think Ai Xiu can withstand this terrifying thing. Ai Xiu, don't die. Luffy wailed and burst into tears. Infected by Luffy's crying, Ace also shed tears. Then the two of them, whose eyes were blurred by tears, saw Ashu turning around to look at them. Ai Xiu looked at the two people crying loudly and became speechless. Iron Fist of Love. Bang bang. Two muffled sounds. Ace and Luffy crouched on the ground, covering their heads. The sharp pain on their heads made the two of them scream loudly. Capp returned and stood behind Ashu, looking at the three of them unharmed, breathed a sigh of relief. I was careless this time. How could this Sea King species appear here? Capp was a bit puzzled. But if he couldn't figure it out, he didn't want to, and Capp's gaze fell on Ash. Ai Xiu, when did you master the dominance of armed colors? Just as he unleashed his iron fist of love, Ashu, feeling very satisfied, turned around when he heard Capp's voice behind him. Looking at Capp, who still had a shocked expression on his face, Ai Xiu waved his hand indifferently. Old man, didn't you use it once when you hit me just now? This response is unimaginable for Capp no matter what. With his eyes fixed on Ashu, Capp's heart was filled with shock. Good guy. Just a glance, feeling his iron fist of love, and mastering the dominance of armed colors. All the naval geniuses collected from the 4 seas and great roots of the Navy headquarters will be thrown into the trash can. Even the current 3 generals, when they were in the training camp of the Navy headquarters, were taught by domineering masters for a considerable amount of time before fully mastering their armed color and domineering aura. Capp looked at Ashu with a disdainful expression on his face, feeling extremely emotional in his heart. Seeing and hearing the color is already very powerful, and you can sense what is happening here just now in the forest. Such a large range indicates that Ai Xiu has gone a long way in his practice of seeing, hearing, and being domineering. Now surprisingly, they have mastered the dominance of armed color. At just a few years old, have you already mastered the dual color dominance? Kapu seemed to see another figure who could overturn the entire ocean in the future. Ha ha ha, I can't believe you were so thin and weak when you were first born, but now you're so strong. Kapu's face suddenly turned red and he burst into laughter, looking very happy. Grandpa, so much meat is wasted. Luffy, this guy's brain is incomprehensible to ordinary people. I cried a lot just now, and now I have fully recovered. Looking at the ground minced meat, I have a regretful expression on my face. Even swallowing saliva. And at this moment, Ace had no fear in his eyes. Kapu was very satisfied with the performance of the 3 of them. Men on the sea should have this fearless heart. This is the Sea King class, the king of the sea. Capp spoke up and explained. But I can't stop Grandpa's punch. Ace looked at Capp with bright eyes. What happened to Ai Xiu, he doesn't know. But Capp's ability to kill such a terrifying monster is amazing. I am a rear admiral, and when you join the Navy in the future, you will become as strong as your grandfather. I want to go out to sea, I want to be a pirate. As soon as Kapu's words fell, Ace, who was still full of stars just now, immediately spoke with a look of admiration. I also want to be a pirate. Luffy shouted loudly. Iron Fist of Love. Capp looked displeased at Ace and Luffy, who were crouching on the ground in pain, and his eyes fell on Ash. Ai Xiu swallowed his saliva but didn't speak. Kapu nodded satisfied and said, all right, light the fire, barbecue. Ace and Luffy, who were crouching on the ground in pain, suddenly forgot about the pain. The world is vast, eating meat is the greatest. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 9. Divine Knowledge and Power. Overlord Color and Overlord Chi Cultivation Method. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. For Ace and Luffy, meat is everything. Now when Capp talked about grilled meat, both of them began to have golden eyes. Ai Xiu looked thoughtfully at the place where the snake-like sea kings appeared just now. In the perception of seeing and hearing colors, it seems that something is giving birth in that direction. Ai Xiu already had a guess in his heart. Guess the reason why this giant sea king appeared near the sea. Ai Xiu, come and have a barbecue. At this moment, Luffy's loud voice rang out. Ai Xiu turned his head and saw Luffy and Ace dragging a large piece of sea king meat towards the direction of the forest. Just like ants dragging things much larger than themselves. And Capp was also turning his head to look at him, his eyes full of admiration. If you don't look at the huge piece of meat on his back like a small mountain, it's just a kind old man. Here we go. Ai Xiu shouted and quickly followed up. A bonfire rose in the forest, and the aroma of grilled meat drifted far away. Luffy and Ace both drool all over the ground. Ai Xiu is also a bit greedy. The genetic cultivation method places great demands on food. Especially for some nutritious foods, the demand is even greater. Sea king meat can perfectly satisfy all of this. Capp laughed heartily as he looked at the three little ones. Sea king meat is very fragrant and chewy. All of this is to support a huge body size, making it so delicious. Even without any seasoning, it is very delicious. Looking at the grilled meat handed over by Capp, Ai Xiu didn't show any courtesy and took it over and started eating it big. Ace and Luffy are the same. Not long after, the pile of grilled meat brought back was eaten completely. Eating grilled meat several times larger than his own body size, Ai Xiu's body remained unchanged. The meat of sea kings is indeed more nutritious than the food they have eaten before. More energy is converted. Luffy and Ace are now fully fed and lying on the ground, sound asleep. Carp on one side is the same. A huge nasal mucus bubble has come out. But Ashu, whose body was incredibly full of energy, had no drowsiness at all. Seeing and smelling the domineering aura and feeling the nurturing thing on the coast, Ai Xiu stood up directly. With a few flashes of force under his feet, he reached the coast and glanced at the cliff below. Ashu quickly descended with his bare hands. Below the cliff, connected to the sea, is a huge cave. The closer Ai Xiu got, the more he could feel the massive aura of life and the powerful aura emanating from inside. Ai Xiu's eyes lit up and he walked into the depths of the cave. Strong physical fitness brings strong eyesight. The light in the depths of the cave was dim, but for Ashu it was like daylight. At the end of the cave, Ai Xiu finally saw the aura of life and strange pressure emanating from it. A huge pink giant egg. This giant egg is probably 7 or 8 meters tall, with blue patterns densely covering the surface of the eggshell, making it look very unique. Sure enough, a sea king egg. After seeing this giant egg, Ai Xiu confirmed his guess in his heart. After all, for sea creatures like sea kings with huge bodies, the deep sea is their paradise. They can't move around near the sea. So some people who live on the island all year round have never even seen this terrifying monster in their lifetime. That giant sea king suddenly appeared in the nearshore, there must be a reason. It seems that this soon-to-be-born sea king beast attracted this guy. It seems to have sensed the arrival of Ashu. The strange pressure within the giant egg is even greater. Under this aura, Ai Xiu couldn't help but retreat. And this wave of pressure, centered around the giant egg, is spreading rapidly in all directions. All the marine creatures in the nearby waters were so frightened by this smell that they forgot to even swim. Floating on the sea with white bellies flipped over one by one. Cass and Luffy, lying beside him, suddenly sat up. Upon seeing and hearing his expression, he immediately sensed Ai Xiu's movements. And from Ai Xiu's side, came the unique pressure of Sea Kings. Another one. Capp's face darkened, and he picked up the still sleeping Ace and Luffy. He stomped on them repeatedly, his figure flickering in the air, and they reached the cave below the cliff. Luffy and Ace were also swayed by Capp's 7 meat and 8 vegetarian hands. When Capp entered the cave with the 2 little ones, he saw the cracked giant egg and Ashu standing in front of it. Luffy was about to shout, but Capp directly covered Luffy's mouth. Woo-woo. Luffy's words were stuck in his throat and his face turned red from holding back. And Capp looked serious at Ashu with his back to them, his eyes full of shock. Capp felt a breath coalescing from Ai Xiu. At this moment, Ai Xiu tightly closed his eyes. You witnessed the birth of the Sea King class and felt the pressure of the Sea King class. You suddenly realized that you created the divine consciousness and divine power. Overlord color and dominance cultivation method, you have comprehended the domineering color and aura. Ai Xiu suddenly opened his eyes. A powerful pressure suddenly surged out of Ai Xiu's body. It seems like an Supreme King, demonstrating his existence to the world. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yenzu. Chapter 10. The Shocking Kingdom of Goa. Jiaolong Mount Get. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In an instant, everyone on the entire island was filled with fear. A huge pressure caused everyone to panic. In the banquet tavern, Magino was wiping the glass in her hand. Feeling the scent, she panicked and her glass fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. What is this? Magino's voice trembled. The originally noisy tavern quieted down, and the sound of needles falling could be heard. Everyone felt the strong pressure and looked frightened. But everyone was at a loss, not knowing where this inexplicable sense of oppression came from. In the cave beneath the cliff. Capp stared at Ashu, whose back was facing them, with a look of shock in his eyes. Shocked, ecstatic, unbelievable. Even though my heart is as hard as Kappa's, I am now numb. What kind of terrifying talent is this? Within a day, seeing, hearing, armed, and even now even the dominant color has awakened. This terrifying qualification, Capp recalled nearly 60 years and had never heard of it before. Luffy and Ace, who were held by Capp in their hands, had long been unable to withstand the tyrannical aura released by Ashu. Now they were rolling their eyes and falling into a coma. Although both of them possess the qualifications of a king, their bodies contain a domineering aura. But after all, they are still too young. Unable to resist the domineering aura released by Ai Xiu. Capp looked at Asher's back with a hint of determination in his eyes. Such talent and qualifications cannot be wasted. This is something Capp absolutely cannot allow. Otherwise, if he grows crooked, Capp thinks he will definitely regret it to death. At a young age, I awakened the dominance of the 3 colors. This has entered the sequence of the strong. Future achievements are guaranteed to be at the level of a general. This is Capp's idea. Ai Xiu naturally didn't know what Capp was thinking, and at this moment, Ai Xiu was feeling the domineering aura he had just comprehended. And the divine sense and divine power. Overlord color cultivation method. Just as Ai Xiu was immersed, a clicking sound woke him up. Perhaps it was stimulated by the dominance of Ai Xiu. The huge pink egg in front of him had cracks. The sound of clicking was incessant. Subsequently, under Asher's gaze, the giant egg shattered. A giant snake with a pair of antlers on its head appeared. The whole body is sea blue, like a sapphire. At this moment, a pair of eyes were fixed on Ai Xiu, her whole body coiled up in a ball, looking very guarded. The appearance of most sea kings is very peculiar. One by one, it's called reckless behavior. This one, on the other hand, looks very pleasing to the eye. Capp did not take action. It's just a newborn sea king. The domineering aura on Ai Xiu's body suddenly increased. A hint of fear flashed in the eyes of the originally guarded young sea king, and they shrank their necks as if trying to hide their heads in the ball formed by their bodies. Ai Xiu stepped forward step by step, and with each step, the domineering aura emanating from him became even stronger. The clouds in the sky seemed to have been impacted by this, and the people of the entire kingdom of Goya saw a huge void in the clouds in the sky. Bright and dazzling eyes fell from the void, like a golden pillar of heaven. Capp looked at Ai Xiu in shock. Can one awaken to such a degree of mastery? Step-by-step enhancement. Under Capp's stunning gaze, Ai Xiu walked up to the edge of this sea king. And this young sea king was clearly frightened by Asher. At this moment, he looked at Ai Xiu with some fear, and his mouth made a voice that sounded like a deer crowing. This is submission. This sea king was intimidated by Ai Xiu. Upon seeing this scene, Ai Xiu was very satisfied. The dominant color converges. At the same time, the sharp sword that seemed to hang over everyone's heads disappeared from the entire island, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. This giant sea king extended its head and gently rubbed against Ai Xiu, with a pleasing expression in its eyes. And Ai Xiu reached out and touched the head of the sea king in front of him, with a satisfied smile on his small face. This time the harvest is too great. Although his intelligence is exceptional, he actually has no clue about the dominant color. After gaining inspiration from Capp and awakening his armed colors, Ai Xiu thought about whether to let Capp release his dominant color and see if it was possible to awaken through it. Unexpectedly, I gained insights from this sea king. That's right, sea kings are kings in the ocean. Born with a strong pressure on marine life. This time, not only did he awaken his dominant color, but he also obtained the cultivation method of his dominant color. He also easily subdued this sea king. As a beauty party. If this sea king had the same appearance as the previous snake-headed octopus body, Ai Xiu probably doesn't really have this mindset. But the one in front of me is ice blue all over, like a sapphire. The overall appearance resembles that of a dragon in the legend of Ai Xiu's past life. Ai Xiu was still very satisfied with having a dragon as a pet. This is ridiculous. In the future, stepping on a dragon to go out to sea would be in line with his idea. Suddenly, a hint of caution flashed in the eyes of this sea king, and the snake's head extended to protect Ai Xiu between its neck, revealing its sharp teeth towards the approaching Kapu. Ha ha ha, Ai Xiu kid, if it weren't for being a navy. P.S. Every day at 10 o'clock, old authors are asking for flowers, evaluation tickets, comments, monthly tickets, and rewards. The first day is really important. Thank you all, Yanzu.